What's going on, guys? Welcome to a very special episode of Renegade Animation on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host for this evening. Joining me, as always, is the animation guru, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And making her Renegade Pop Culture debut, please welcome our special guest. We've got Rosa from Rosa Reviews.
Hi.
It's good to have you here on this very exciting episode where we finally get to talk about Jorge Gutierrez's magnum opus, in my opinion, Maya and the Three, which is now streaming on Netflix. So before we dive too deep into the story, Rosa, I want to start with you. Tell me how you first found out about this project and maybe give a little bit of background on your experience with Gutierrez's previous works.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so I found out about the project probably similarly as a lot of people did with the trailers and when they were giving these little hints as to what Jorge was working on. And I've been following Jorge's work for quite some time. In fact, I had the honor and complete privilege to have a conversation with him yesterday, in fact, about the series, which was incredibly fun to get to talk to him. But yes, I saw the trailer about for the series and I was blown away by it. I was just incredibly excited. It served its purpose, which was to hype me up for the series. And now that I've had a chance to see it twice, I'm actually halfway through my third time. I cannot accurately articulate what the series means to me, what it means to me as a first generation Chicana, what it means to me as a brown woman who is a descendant of these civilizations, these Mesoamerican civilizations. And wow, it's just incredibly important to me on a personal level, but as a critic and as a movie and TV aficionado, I cannot state how much fun I had with the series. I cried, I laughed, I cried again, I cried while I was laughing, and I had all these array of emotions that I just absolutely adore. So to answer your question, which I'm pretty sure I did not do perfectly, I love the series.
Awesome.
I know, sorry guys. I always go off tangents.
Don't worry about it.
No, that's awesome. I love to hear that kind of reaction and responses to something that really personally connects with you and such. Yeah. And it's great when art can do that, and then when we can see projects like this. For me, I found out about this when Netflix was really starting to get into animation. This was around the time when they were still testing the waters with their original shows like Orange is the New Black and House of Cards. And then they were like, hey, there's not a whole lot of animation representation. And how about we invest into a few projects? And of course, because of the unknown amounts of money that they have, buy a bunch of projects, whether through distribution or production and such. Gutierrez's Maya and the Three was one of the first projects that was announced alongside the Willoughbys and Klaus. Of course, being a fan of Gutierrez's work from El Tigre, from his character design work from Mucha Lucha, and of course 2014's The Book of Life. I've been a huge fan of his work. I love his inspiration. I love his passion. And then, of course, the hype went through the roof at Annecy this year when in the work in progress section, he and his wife and partner and co-creator of the show, Sandra, got to show some behind the scenes work and production and whatnot for the limited series. It was just very exciting and thrilling to be able to see this stuff. I love behind the scenes and production histories of shows and films like this, and it was just fantastic. Just a wonderful limited series, or just one of the great shows of 2021 in general, whether it's one season or not. So Mike, what about you?
So just in general about Jorge Gutierrez, I've been doing media commentary at least going as far back as 2014. So when I saw the Book of Life in theaters, that was one of those moments where like I knew that I loved this medium, and I knew that Gutierrez was certainly a name to look out for. A few years later, I started following him on Twitter, and he started kind of teasing concept art of Maya and the Three. Then we got the official announcement from Netflix, which was just cool to see just how all in they were going with animation. That was really cool. And then the most pre-footage I saw from the series was at this year's Annecy presentation, where he and his wife really gushed about everything that went into this project. And I gotta say, anytime I watch interviews with Jorge and his wife, it's always just the most infectious thing. Just sounds like a little boy who's just excited to play with his new toys. That's sort of the energy that he brings to the series. It feels epic in scope while also kind of staying true to a lot of Saturday morning cartoons, with like a great ensemble cast of characters, incredible animation, and just a story full of heart and humor. This might be one of the best things that he's worked on, and one of the best shows that I've seen in 2021. Let's really dive into the story of Maya and the Three.
Alrighty. So, set in a world based on pre-colonial Mesoamerica and other indigenous cultures, Maya, a warrior princess, is celebrating her 15th birthday. But when the underworld gods appear and announce she must pay for her family's misdeeds, everything changes. If she refuses to go along, the world itself will be ravaged by the gods. So she embarks on a quest to fulfill a prophecy which says that 3 warriors will appear who will help her defeat these gods and save humanity itself from destruction. Because, that's how every 15th birthday goes,
Obviously.
Yeah. Let's start with just like the overall story. Rosa, what was like your favorite part or elements of the story as a whole?
As a whole, okay. Are we giving out spoilers or no?
Okay, so spoilers. Now you can.
Thank you. I just have to make sure I don't want to ruin it for people.
Oh, of course.
Oh my God, there was so many aspects of this story in general that really, some of them hit home, some of them I was able to appreciate from an external or outside perspective. And I see how it can be significant that it was actually in her 15th year birthday that all of this would happen, which I'm assuming is very synonymous with the quinceañera, which is what a lot of Latinos very much celebrate, particularly for women, of becoming a woman. And now you have to grow up and you have this huge party that your family cannot afford. But I can see the parallels in that. And oh my God, quite frankly, I love that Gutierrez did not shy away from having these thematics and these conversations in terms of a lot of things that happen in real life, like having an extramarital, like an infidelity in the marriage, and then having a product, which in this case, again, spoilers, it's Maya's origin story, and also talking about death, which again, it's not something that can be easy to do, particularly in an animated show, which obviously more children are going to be watching it. And the fact that he's able to juggle and handle all these thematics so precisely and without any hesitation, it's something incredibly amazing. So there were so many aspects of the story in general that I thoroughly enjoyed. I loved how it's evident, it's very obvious how he is very handling the representation and the influences of all these different cultural backgrounds, including the Aztecs and the Mayas and the Incas and the Caribbean, and how he does it with so much love and so much attention to detail that the mythologies, everything behind it is just so meticulously taken care of that it shows on the story, it shows in the animation, it shows visually, it also shows on a grander scale. When it all comes together, they just complement one another so well that it's just, to me, it's easily one of the best animated series I've seen in my life, to be honest, not only in 2021. And going back to just the story, I loved everything about it. I loved how the story itself is just about a prophecy, and how a lot of different demographics, a lot of different civilizations go along with these prophecies, a lot of religions. And I'm trying to be careful when I talk about things like that, because I don't want to offend anybody, do go based on prophecies. And it's just the power of storytelling that gets these different kingdoms and different cultures. Not only does it give them like a purpose to continue living, but also gives them a reason to be honorable, and so on and so forth. So again, in general, I absolutely loved it. And the story itself, I think if it wouldn't have been taken care of the way that Jorge did it, it would not have worked at all. So I absolutely loved everything about it.
I think my favorite part of the story itself was that, like, I agree. I thought it was very interesting to see like a family in an animated show deal with stuff like infidelity. Sometimes it seems like it's always very black and white with how these things are handled. And of course, a lot of TV networks are like, hey, you can't talk about this specific thing. Is there like a creative way you can work around it? And it's like, no, that's part of the process and the themes. And it's like, he does handle it very well. And I like the pacing of it. I don't think this overall story would have worked as a movie. I know I've talked to some people saying that, like, if this was a movie, it would have been in the front runner like conversation for award shows. I think it works best as a TV show. I mean, not that it couldn't have been a film, but they definitely would have to like change a few things around. But with it being a like 9-episode series, they were able to like breathe a little. And like, I like how like the first few episodes are able to open up with the characters and just where they were and how they became to be who they are. It knows how to balance like the like happier familial tones and then the darker elements, and then it knows how to have fun with itself at points. And it was really fun to see some of the actors involved get to play against type, or like they get to play like a character that they would normally not be cast for. Like I think my favorite character in casting was Gabriel Iglesias as Pichu. And normally, like, I always see Gabriel Iglesias as like the comedy character, the comedy relief, or like side characters and such. It was really cool to see him get to be a main character. And while he has his funny moments, and his show is very funny, I laughed multiple times.
Yeah.
But it was just fun to see him get to be like this warrior and have like this very touching story arc. And I think Gutierrez owes me a heart because mine just melted on that 7th episode with Pichu.
He owes
and
me
such.
3.
Yeah.
Mhm.
These cool settings, and like the Luna Island is so cool. I just love this big lunar, like, I think it was like sand or like rock, and just like that's where all these wizards and like where you practice magic and such. It's just a cool visual. And then the gods down in the underworld basically living in an upside down pyramid, which is, as Gutierrez said at Annecy, like the most metal thing you can think of.
And of course the music represents that quite well.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was just also very touching. And like I like that the characters were all like, they had dimension to them. Like even some of the gods were not just downright evil and such, like as we saw with like Zatz, the Prince of Bats, or like some of the other gods, like Kamazotz, the god of bats, or probably my 2 favorite gods, Kabra Khan and Sepak Sorry if I said that incorrectly. It was just like his team was able to bring like these very complex characters to life, and they worked well off of one another. And it was just like a Mike, what about you?
Just kind of bouncing off what you said earlier about sort of this, like the structure of this story. I agree. It feels like it's too epic to be contained in like a single 90 or like 100-minute runtime for a movie. But at the same time, I think I like how it didn't really overstay its welcome either. Like nine episodes to tell this story even in like broken up in 3 acts was perfect. It gave the characters enough time to breathe. You really get to know each member of this little team, what they're fighting for, what they want to accomplish, the sins they're atoning for. All of that is just wonderfully realized. I also just love how pretty much all of Gutierrez's projects have a very specific sense of humor. It helps that he cast a pretty great ensemble. Diego Luna probably plays my favorite character, Zatz, the Prince of Bats. And then you got the villain, Alfred Molina, as Lord Miklen, the God of War. Such great casting all around. And then you have Stephanie Beatrice as Chimi. Cheech Marin plays Hura and Can. A great play on words.
It took me a second watch to understand that it was 2 parts of one word. And I had to look this up, that Hura Khan was one Mayan god of storms and tornadoes and such. And I was just like, Hura Khan. I get it.
Yep.
Hura Khan, yeah.
Yeah. And no, it was a very the humor was very delightful. I like when they arrive at the big quinceañera, with like the Gran Bruja being like voiced by Queen Latifah, was like, I sense a like darkness and everything, and then her assistant Zapote was just like, oh no, not this again. Just like, darkness everywhere, just every time. It felt like a more natural sense of humor. I didn't, not to try to stereotype most animation work and such, but there are times where a lot of animation fare seems to rely on like reference or very modern vernacular. And the humor here was not that. It just felt like, what would be funny for this one little scene? Like when you see at the beginning Maya fight, what's his name? The gladiator guy. The bear killer, who's voiced by John DiMaggio, who's basically playing another version of his character from El Tigre. And I love like when he gets kicked in the face and he loses a tooth, and he's like, oh man, that was my favorite one. It flowed very well. Or like when the Barbarian King, again voiced by John DiMaggio, just being like this big burly man, and then be like, when are we going to eat? And his daughter, the princess, voiced by Carolina Ravassa, being more the one with the head on the shoulders, if that makes sense. And it was also just like a very touching story. Like it got dark at points, and they didn't try to sugarcoat it like how 4 kids would take like in an anime or something like Yu-Gi-Oh and be like, you're going to the Shadow Realm or another dimension. No, characters just died right then and there.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we deal with Rico's backstory of how he feels guilt about the loss of the one person he thought, or like the one person who had faith in him to become this great wizard, or like Chimi feeling ostracized because of this curse, quote unquote, because of who she was, like how she was born. And it makes you feel more invested with the characters. You understand where they come from, or like how they distance themselves from one another, like because they don't, like Chimi, of course I understand, does not trust anyone because the kingdom that she was from ostracized her. And of course if she sees someone trying to, like a human, come up to them, she's gonna fill you with an arrow or 2 or 3 before you saying like, oh, you want to talk, okay. And or like Pichu feeling like the resentment of like, he feels like he got his parents and his tribe killed because of showing remorse, when showing remorse is not a weakness, it's a strength. And then down to just a dynamic between King Tekka and Queen Tekka, which I love that Jorge and Sandra got to play the king and queen.
There's a fun story about that. I've been watching a couple behind the scenes videos early today, and how he got Sandra to voice that character was basically he tricked her into he tricked her thinking like, oh, don't worry, this is just scratch vocals. You're not going to hear this in the finished product. And then once she starts like seeing the project come together and she like hears her voice, that's when she just, it's like, oh wow, so I'm actually in this. I thought that was a fun little story. Rosa, did Jorge tell you that in your interview?
No, I didn't get to ask him because I had already seen a lot of his interviews where, he admittedly said he tricked her into voicing her. And I was like, how brilliant. But it fits so perfectly because who else would be like more fitted to voice those two characters, literally the parents of Maya.
Exactly.
All of this, this whole series is their baby, it's their child. Maya, it's theirs. So I couldn't think of two better people to voice those two characters. And Jorge is just so incredibly nice, and he's hilarious, and he's so outgoing that hearing a story like this, comes to no surprise. But at the same time, I'm like, of course, of course he would do something like this to Sandra, and but it worked perfectly fine. And I don't think I can't think of anybody better to voice those two characters.
Yeah, no, the voice cast was really good. I love Zoe Saldana as Maya. She brings like the energy that you would need for a very active and very adventure and fight driven character like her. I'm sorry that her reoccurring gag was that she kept dislocating her arm. That must hurt every single time.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that. And like we also got like Diego Luna plays Zatz. I think like at Annecy he described Zatz as Jorge describes Zatz as the cool emo anime boy of the franchise of the show. And it's like, oh yeah, no, he's a very good looking, brooding individual. Lord Miklan, he was one of the, I think he was along with Lady Mikde, were the only two gods at that point in time shown, like in the concept art. And I love the design of Miklan, just how his face is actually two heads that are just crushing together. And
that was really cool looking.
I regret forgetting the symbolism behind that. And because I remember he talked about that at Annecy, and it was really cool, and I forgot the exact symbolism behind that, but thought that was very cool. And yes, I know like he tends to have like a ton of designs on his characters, but I think that's what makes it all stand out. Like he has such a distinct visual style. If you're going to bring him on to either make a show or design characters, I'd want him to do what he does best. And everything it's just his. It's drenched in that like Mesoamerican visual style, like of Mayan architect and other elements. It was funny, like on Twitter, sometimes he'll post like designs of like Miklan and such and being like, the question is, are there too many skulls or are there too few skulls? And then of course I just playfully respond saying like, there's 100 there. I think you can add a few more. No. And I also loved like Pooch, who was voiced by Rita Moreno. Just a very sweet behind the scenes like support character and such. And I loved the little twist at the end that there were three of them, and I loved how they were like able to connect with like the three chosen warriors. And it was just kind of cool to also see like Rico, like see a main character who has like who stammered a lot.
That made me feel seen.
Yeah, so I stammer or stutter a lot, so I try to stay focused and not let that happen. But of course, I've slipped a little. So then, let's see. Then like Gail Garcia Bernal played the Puma brothers, who are all very cool, and I loved when they were trying to show like, hey, I did this great adventure and got this item, and Maya's just not even there. All that work and,
all that work for nothing.
And Maya's just going out to kick the tar out of someone. And it was just cool to see like the characters themselves like be more active and such. Like I was a little worried at first, like that Queen Tekka was going to get kind of pushed into the background, but she's just as active as King Tekka. And I was very happy about that. You get to see characters who would normally play like very secondary or very minor roles get to be like in on the action and such. Even when Tekka was giving birth to twins, like when the world was coming to an end. The story doesn't forget about these characters. They still like, I would say there's like not a character that's not wasted per se. Like every character has some kind of importance to the overarching story. Rosa, do you have like any other like favorite characters or moments that?
Yes. Oh, so many.
Yeah.
We're gonna be here forever.
I know, same.
We'll be here for the whole the length of the whole series.
Yeah.
To be honest, my favorite voice casting here was Alfred Molina as Lord Mictlan. I think what he does here is just wow. It's just remarkable, and his design absolutely is one of my favorites. I did get the chance to ask Jorge how in the world was he able to manage to get so many A-list Latinos in here to contribute and collaborate with his project. And he admitted that he did something that creators should never do, and that is to create these characters with people in mind. So what he did, literally, he created the design of Zax, and then just DM'd Diego Luna and told him, hey, you know what? I did this character for you. You're going to be awesome at it. I think you should voice him, and just filled them, threw him flowers of compliments. And then I think Diego Luna must have felt guilty and couldn't say no to his proposal. He's like, okay, I'll do it. And same thing with Zoe Saldana. I think he mentioned that he proposed this the character of Maya to Zoe at the premiere of the Book of Life.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
And she was taken aback, and it took her a little while, but eventually she agreed with it. And Alfred Molina, I think he was able to get him on. I think they met each other for the film of Frida with Salma Hayek and Alfred Molina as Diego Rivera, and he was able to convince him right there and then. So he's like, I did something a lot of people should not be doing, but he said he had took a similar approach when he did the Book of Life, and he got 70% of the people to voice cast what he had in mind. And he said, well, the odds were more favorable than negative, so I just gave it another shot, and lucky for me, I was able to do it. And man, this cast, I mean, Rita Moreno, and then you have like Danny Trejo, Cheech Marin, Rosie Perez. You just have so many A-list Latinos that I was just blown away by it. But at the same time, I was just I'm still so full, so proud and filled with so much joy to see that a Latino is able to gather this talent just for his projects. And man, I mean, if we're talking about moments, there's so many moments that get to me, like every single fight scene. And I was able to talk to him a little bit about this because I asked him, your animation style is so distinct. Whenever I see something, I can immediately tell, okay, this is Jorge Gutierrez. It has his handprint all over it. But at the same time, each kingdom is so distinct with this design and its colors and its character design, but also the architecture and very much resemblance of the Aztecs, most likely it's Tenochtitlan or Teotihuacan, and then you have Chichen Itza with the Mayans and Machu Picchu with the Incas. And he said that literally this entire series is him going to the Anthropological Museum of Mexico and walking around. So for him, Maya and the Three is him being a little boy and walking through the museum and seeing all these different structures and everything that you see in the museum. It's literally Maya and the Three. So
Right.
I'm just so amazed and fascinated that he was able to bring all of this together and pay homage to our ancestors and our roots and civilizations that sadly are often either forgotten or they're just, well, unfortunately, for the most part, they're often forgotten. We never see
Mhm.
that type of representation on screen, whether it's film or whether it's in television. So just to see it in this manner and to see what he was able to bring, it's just so remarkable, and I absolutely love it. I'm sorry, I know I'm just
Oh no.
complimenting the
Oh
series
no.
from top to bottom, but to
No.
be quite honest with you, I don't even think I have any criticisms about it. I think it is perfection at its max, particularly with that ending. That
Oh.
ending just had me in an ocean of tears. I must have cried like 3 oceans by now.
Oh
And
man, yeah.
it's just like, oh my God, it's just incredible.
I think one of my favorite little moments or just like character beats was the dynamic between Danny Trejo and Rosie Perez's characters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I love that it was like they're literally a married couple. And I mean, I love Danny Trejo. I will watch anything that he's in because he's great, and Rosie Perez is always great.
Yeah.
But I love, just like I said, I think it was interesting to see that some of the gods were not fully evil or antagonistic, and to see them act more like, well, I guess it's kind of funny to say, oh, these gods act like humans. And because I mean, I don't know, I don't have 3 arms and my head doesn't come off like Kabla Khan. Um, and to see him go through his little temper tantrum, and or like every time Shipali was like talked or like introduced herself, and Kabla Khan was just like, she just gets prettier every day and I love her. And it was really cool to see, like, also like to see Cheech Marin or as a villain. I guess it's just like I keep thinking back to his like voice roles in like Disney, like back in the day, like with I was gonna say Fox and the Hound, and it's like, no, that's not the right one.
Oliver and
Yeah,
Company.
Oliver and
Yeah.
Company, or like the Lion King.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
to see him be like this imposing threat as the god of storms and the god of wind, that was probably my favorite fight sequence, just to deal with the two of them, probably with also my favorite song from the soundtrack. Like, it just felt like very cool, very intense, and just a really like life-threatening situation to be caught between the two. And of course, it was also very cool to see like the other gods, like Chival, the god of dark magic, voiced by Carlos Alazraqui. Very easy to identify whenever he does voice work, but I love him. Like, anytime you can put him in, I'm down for it.
Him and Eric Bauza are two actors who I love seeing in the credits. Also, Grey Griffin voices Extabe, the goddess of illusions. Had a very menacing presence in the one moment that she was in.
Yeah. Grey Griffin shows up quite a few times here. She plays her, and then she plays Bones, the goddess of thievery. Well, one of them, while the other one's played by Elena Ubach. And
I was gonna say, was she the girl that that Pichu spared? I thought that might have.
I think that was her also, yeah. And then it was just cool to hear like Wyclef Jean as Gran Brujo.
Mhm.
That I loved that character. All these characters leave such an impact, and then to hear like Queen Latifah as Gran Bruja, and that the super magic dragon punch, which I'm sure was a Street Fighter reference, with the nose, was just great. There are just like so many cool little moments, or like when Vukub, the god of jungle animals, like talked with Chimi and such, and just brought this nuance to the character. Like, he was just saying like, you are dishonorable to animals and such, but then like slowly turn to like their side basically. And I also felt bad for like Akat, the goddess of tattoos, even though she was like very much ready to kill Maya. But you know, when you see the god of war kill another god in front of the others, I think it's kind of time to say like, maybe we should watch our backs a little or something. I think Kabla Khan had the right idea. To saying like, let's take the power for ours, and then so we don't have to deal with Miklan.
That was a cool thing that I liked about the hierarchy of these gods, how there's like one ruler with all the power, everyone else kind of has their own agenda.
Yeah, and it was real sad to see all the other gods just get killed off instantly when Miklan was going to turn into that two-headed snake dragon thing. And that thing was so cool. The shot composition for this show was really good with how it handled the widescreen thing. It kind of played, I'm not going to say it broke the fourth wall, but when things would like literally leap out from the screen, it was like very 3D without having to wear 3D glasses.
They really played around with the perspective, and that was probably the best way to make like the action scenes stand out, give it like its own unique flavor.
Well, it's like he said at Annecy, he wanted to make a TV series with CGI that was on level with theatrical animation, and well, yeah, he succeeded. Obviously, the animation was done by Tangent Animation, which did the Netflix animated film from a few years back, Next Gen, and unfortunately, they shut down. Like I think like a month or two before Maya came out, but they got Maya done. But that's a whole other unfortunate story about the animation industry. And the music was so good. This show had, I wanted to call it a movie, but it's like, no, it's a show or a limited series. But one of the composers was Gustavo Santaolalla, who composed the music for like Brokeback Mountain, The Book of Life, Narcos Mexico, and The Last of Us, the critically acclaimed Sony PlayStation series. And then we also got Tim Davies, who did stuff for like Darksiders, Ratchet and Clank, Batman Arkham City, The Simpsons movie, Ant-Man, Crimson Peak, Frozen 2, and many other things. What did you think about the music, Rosa?
Oh my God, I absolutely loved it. I love that the different styles of music that he uses per character. Like we mentioned earlier, he uses the rock music for the underworld. And I absolutely loved it. In fact, I did get a chance to ask him about it yesterday because it was easily a highlight for me. Because this again, I'm right there with you. I was gonna call this a movie. The series does not work like perfectly fine without that score, without that music. It certainly gives you the ultimate gut punch, whether to cry or to be in suspense and things like that. So yeah, Gutierrez reunites with Gustavo Santaolalla, who is an Argentinian Academy Award-winning composer, and easily he's one of those composers who's been more on my radar after reviewing not that long ago another docuseries from Netflix, which is called Rompan Todo, which takes a look at el rock en español in Latin America, and he was an instrumental pillar in that movement. So the fact that they were able to work together, and he brought him back for the series, and he said it was just incredible to get the opportunity to work alongside him, and just that he's a very huge fan of him. Because I mean, I'm about to geek out here, but
Go ahead.
the fact that the Santaolalla is responsible for some of the biggest Mexican rock bands that I grew up listening to, and apparently Jorge Gutierrez, like Café Tacuba and Caifanes and Maldita Vecindad and all these bands, and the fact that his vision is his mindset, and he's produced so many of my favorite musical songs, that just to hear his score in this series was just wow. It was just incredible. And just to see Gutierrez, just how beautifully he talks about him, and you can immediately see that they have a very beautiful relationship and working relationship, more importantly, that his work in this series is just instrumental literally into making the series what it is, and having that amount of impact that it does. Because there's some, which I thought was very interesting, at the same time bold, because if you use more of the contemporary tones, like something, a music that's been released not that long ago, but you're using it in a scenario that you're talking about Mesoamerican. So this is probably what, pre-colonial, before the Spaniards came into this area. But yeah, you're using rock, you're using these contemporary music, but somehow they manage to work. They function in this series very well and very perfectly, which I thoroughly appreciated. So I absolutely love the score and the music in the series.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of people, like anytime like I've seen behind the scenes things or like interviews with Jorge, it seems like people really love working with him. Like if he wants to have you for a project, you just drop everything and be like, oh yeah, I'll be there in 5 minutes. Just I'll do whatever and such. And I love that. I love hearing about creators like that. And I'm glad that like the person I see in interviews is like the same, like in and out of like professional like situations and such. And just hearing his passion and then just how everyone loves working with him, it just makes you happy, because I know not all stories about Hollywood and production and animation is not always happy or positive, but hearing that he's this like creative individual who is bringing like this positivity and light to whatever he touches is very touching. That's really all. It's just great. It's just great. I love him. And if I ever got to meet him, I think I would just turn into like a stammering mess because I don't know what I would do or say. I'd be like, I also, just one of my small little favorite moments of the show was when before the big final battle, when they were all having dinner. That was just a fun little fun moment of just seeing Queen Tekka like talking with Mikde, and just how uncomfortable King Tekka was, and he was just like, oh, okay, just everything's gonna be fine.
I love that too.
Yeah, just like Jorge, I love his voice work in this. I love just how he brings this big character down to like this very lovable individual, and how he was just like, yeah, I could still fit my finger in the area your mother stabbed me in, or like it was an honor for anyone to get their teeth kicked out by her.
Yeah,
it's
so
just
cute.
Small little moments, and then of course it was incredible that he was able to fit in a few El Tigre and Book of Life Easter eggs.
Something I found earlier was someone posted like a theory that Maya and Zatz were like the descendants. Yeah, Maria and Manolo. Pretty much like Jorge retweeted saying facts, or it's true. That just made me so happy. I'm like, oh my God, they're actually committing to this.
Because I know some people would be like, I don't think anyone really believes like the whole Pixar universe like exists or makes sense. It's just like, oh, here's a cute little Easter egg. When Gutierrez does it, it's like, no, I believe that every inch. Like,
yeah, like even as far as like showing like the candle maker in a flashback moment.
Well, you see the main character from El Tigre at the very beginning of when the narrator is talking, and then you see the candle maker, and you see Xibalba and La Muerte there as well. I'm glad that he got to do that, because I was thinking like, well, Book of Life is now owned by Disney. They're not going to do anything with that, but they're sure as heck going to keep it. And like if you watch the Book of Life, you can actually see the two main characters from El Tigre in a one shot, like in like a 2D section. But yeah, like this was just so fun to watch and just so entertaining and enthralling. I don't really have any like real criticisms. Like, I guess my least favorite part, but this is like nitpick, was I guess it wasn't really a love triangle between Pichu, Rico, and Chimi. I guess that was like my least favorite part, when the two guys were trying to compete for her. Not that like it was like a main thing, because I think they were just like, I believe that they were all cohorts and friends and such, and they did love one another. I'm just like not fond of love triangle kind of things.
One like almost criticism I had was when it's revealed that Maya lied to Rico, Pichu, and Chimi. I almost thought they were going to do the whole like end of second act split up the team, but then like a few seconds later, everyone's still together, but they're just like, oh yeah, no, I'm still mad at you, but that doesn't mean I'm going to abandon you. That little moment kind of saved what I thought was going to be a downer moment.
Yeah, like a moment that like we know what's going to happen. And no, that's a good point, that it's all in the execution, because you can do like a liar's reveal thing. It just depends on how you pace the story after that story beat and such. That's really it. Rosa, do you have any like nitpicks or anything? Or
If I'm being completely honest, my only nitpick is that this is all we get. We get no more of it.
Hey, that's a good one to have. Like,
exactly.
Like, what? This is
like,
it.
I know it's like 9 episodes. What? No, no season 2. I mean, granted, half the characters are dead, but
yeah,
come on.
yeah. And you know what? I think the fact that he does not shy away, particularly at the beginning of the series, from killing off characters, I think that's what further immersed me into the series. It was kind of similar like to the Game of Thrones kind of thing. Like anything is possible, nobody is safe. So when you do have these epic fights at the end of like probably the later episodes, you are genuinely afraid for these people because you know anyone can die. And I think when you have a series like that, or any film or any show for that isn't afraid to do that, it certainly hooks you more into the series. It hooks you more into it. And I think this is when it genuinely breaks your heart when a beloved character dies. Like I seriously did balls like cry my balls out when like Pichu died, and I was like, what? Why? And even though I saw it coming, because that's all he would talk about and that's all he wanted to do, die honorably as a warrior, it still hit me. And I was like, no. And also with Colmillo, even though I Colmillo had nothing to do here, I didn't know anything about him, but for some reason, I guess his heroic efforts to try to save everybody, including Zat, and the way that he died as well, was like, oh, what? And I have to give a shout out to Chapa, who's Maya's sidekick, who is one of the most fiercest felines, but also one of the most coward ones.
Oh, Chapo is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the way he was designed. There's a few sequences here and there where you can see like all these little skulls disguised as the his, what did you call it, his spots in his fur. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And even on my third watch, as I'm halfway through, I'm still noticing little nitpicks here and there, including what you guys were talking about, which was the references of the Book of Life. There's a little flashback where Lord Mikle and Lady Mikle are getting married, and they're getting married with the Book of Life.
Yep, that's the one.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. And obviously, I think I've seen a lot of interviews where he says, yeah, they're all shared universes because they all come from the same brain, which is his.
Yeah.
So obviously, I'm like, oh yeah, that's logical, I guess. But you know what? Overall, this is so incredible, and I don't have any criticisms about it. I think I've seen a few things here and there about people pinpointing the fact that this is in English with the little sprinkles of Spanish, when none of these civilizations actually spoke Spanish, because of course Spanish is brought by the Spaniards. So in other words, it's historically inaccurate. Which to some extent I understand the criticism it's coming from, but at the end of the day, my my comeback to this is this is not a historical biopic. It's not a historical. I don't think Jorge Gutierrez is a historian or an anthropologist or anything like that. And I don't think his intention here is to educate us about the civilizations and what happened centuries ago. I think his intention here is just to enlighten us and entertain us, but also pay homage to the civilizations, either by referencing some of their mythologies or their outlooks of life, and some just by doing it on a very beautiful, visually beautiful and stunning look. So I understand some criticisms towards it, but overall, to be quite frank with you, I absolutely adore this series. And I'm gonna be championing it until I get tired, which it does not seem to be anytime soon.
No, this whole show has like little details here and there that makes for a good rewatch to see like either reference points or elements for inspiration, or like I think that was probably my favorite thing to find through Twitter was when Gutierrez would retweet little reference points or elements of inspiration, like the arrows from the Goddess of Tattoos would shoot, and it's like, oh yeah, no, I picked up on that, and I picked up on some of it. I'm not the most educated of this stuff, but I did pick up on a few things. And though there is one joke that I think I don't get. I mean, it's funny, but I don't think I fully get the context. It's the one where one of the Skull Tribe's archers has like a hook head. I don't know if I fully got that joke. It's funny though, like the guy's just walking around with a hook for a head, but.
Yeah, I kind of had the same reaction. Like, it's funny because of where it lands, like with the setup, but specific humor of it must have been lost on me.
But it, like, in defense of that, it makes me want to like look up like what the thought process. Yeah, look into it. And I think with a show like this, that's a good thing. You want to educate yourself on like the culture and the elements of it. I will say, I know subtitle people are like under so much stress of just like of how they need to like translate stuff. Like they're the ones working on the weekly anime releases for Netflix are getting bombarded right now because of how Komi can't communicate with its subtitles. Great show, by the way, but there were moments where they would just go like chants in Spanish or speaks in Spanish, and it's just like, do you not know what it says? Because I would like to know what that says. It just reminds you of that meme that goes around of like, I guess it's from like some soap opera or something, where it's just like gasps in Spanish. It's just like, no, what? I mean, that was probably just like, it has nothing to do with the show itself. It's just that one little detail was a little distracting when I was watching with subtitles. But no, I mean, yeah, I understand. I can understand some of the criticism, but I really just do love this show. I think it ties with Centaur World as like my favorite show from Netflix, and Netflix has like a ton of great shows this year. They had like Kid Cosmic, City of Ghosts. Like I said, Centaur World is just fantastic and weird and dark. And then there's Maya and the Three, and it's up there. And it's just like, it's like I said in my tweet, it's like you'll laugh, you'll be at awe of how amazing the action is and be like, yeah. And then you'll be crying, and then you'll do a mixture of all three throughout the rest of the show. And then at the end of it, you'll just be this, you'll be like, I'm just a glass case of emotions. And oh, that ending was so sweet, just so touching, just really, I think he made the best Netflix series this year, and just like one of the best Netflix things ever. And the fact that he has a multi-project deal with Netflix now makes me so happy, because he's been kind of teasing what he's going to be working on next.
I think the next thing he's working on is an adult animated series. And you know, given the current state of adult animation, but also knowing his like visual style, I cannot wait to see what he does with all that.
I'm wondering if people are going to be like, okay, so how does this connect to Maya and the Three in the Book of Life? No. But I really don't have much else to say. It's just a great show from beginning to end. A lot of passion, a lot of soul, made by a super creative team, and I can't wait to watch this again. I started it with my sister, and she loved the first episode, so we're gonna go through it when we hang out and such. And I've been through it 2 times now, and it's just been great. And my opinion hasn't changed like once since rewatching the show. It's actually just gotten better. Like just the details, just all the character moments, all the story beats, and the action, the jokes. It's like a perfect series. It's like what you look for in an action adventure series, or just like a good show, just in general. Doesn't matter what kind of genre it is, just a good, just piece of art.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. This has pretty much everything that I look for in modern animation. Like I said before, it's the scope of the story. It's the relatability and the likability of these characters. It's Gutierrez's attention to detail on literally everything, and even the music. How you have different styles for each location. You can tell that this was a project that Gutierrez has been like he's been kind of like brewing this in his head for pretty much all of his life, and he just like had to get it out. And I'm so glad he did, and I'm so glad that he did it in a year for Netflix that was already like probably one of its strongest. So to have this sit atop of a list that has City of Ghosts, Centaur World, Kid Cosmic, and that's also not including like movies like The Mitchells versus the Machines, Arl the Alligator Boy. I'm just blown away by by Netflix in general, but specifically this being a complete delight from start to finish. I hope this sweeps like all of the awards that it's eligible for, because it deserves all of them.
Yeah, I hope it does too. I think it's doing very well on Netflix, because I constantly see people talking about it, and I see Netflix sometimes upload clips to one of their many YouTube channels.
Yep.
I don't know why they have to have multiple channels, but whatever. I don't run Netflix, so but it seems to be doing very well, and I'm glad for that, because it's not always a given, because Netflix likes to bury everything. They think, hey, one trailer, that'll be enough. No, they definitely like have put their back into this one. They put their whole hand is in this one, to make sure that this will be big and great. And I hope it is. And if for some reason y'all haven't watched this show yet, it's 9 episodes. It's constantly compelling and fun and like just great.
I know I'm definitely going to introduce my brothers to the show the second I get the opportunity, because I know if they like the Book of Life, they're definitely going to like this.
Yeah, I would just recommend it anyway, just like whether they like animation or not. It's just a good story from a great team. Yeah.
So that brings this episode to a close. Before we get out of here, Rosa, thank you so much for joining us. This was an absolute pleasure. Where can people find you online?
No problem. Thank you so much for inviting me. Yes, I am normally on Instagram, Twitter, and Letterboxd at Rosa's Reviews.
And Cameron, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Twitter at twitter.com/camseyeview or at camseyeview. I have my own website called camseyeview.biz, where I review animated films and shows from around the world, called The Other Side of Animation. I also have a Patreon at patreon.com/camseyeview. If you like my work, you can support me there. I am trying to work and make a coffee account just to for something else, you know. And Rosa, do you have any other like sites that you want to plug or anything?
Well, probably just Latinx Lens, which is the podcast and website that I co-found and podcast I co-host along with Catherine Gonzalez. And yeah, you can find our podcast on every podcasting platform. And then our website is latinxlens.com. I think we're also on Twitter and Instagram, if I'm not mistaken, at Latinx Lens.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. You can find me in all the various Facebook groups just at my name. You can check out Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. Look for us on Podchaser. Listen to all of our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we. That'll do it for the special episode of Renegade Animation. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.